someone's political beliefs that you have to hide it. I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
Well, this is what it is. I think the interesting thing for someone who's on the outside of, I'd say we're on the outside of politics. And we have people on and we've touched those waters, but we're not a political show typically, right? It is a new thing, I think, for this country in general to be so polarized and so divided over political issues that bear probably greater discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's certain things now, it's like this is not up for debate. This is not a discussion. What drove me fucking nuts, absolutely nuts during the pandemic was like, trust the science, follow the science, don't question. Well, we talk about a lot of health and wellness on this podcast. Yeah. That is an area I feel very confident. I'm like, that is what science is. Science is continuing to question and continuing to discuss. There's no such thing as science ending. Does that make sense? That is what science is. It's the further exploration of a discussion to get to what the actual facts are presenting. So when people say, trust the science, shut up, I was like, that's not science.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Also, all their science was also wrong.
Yeah.
So there's that. So there's that part of it.
But I mean, like the definition of, if you want to be actually talk about science, that is science. It's talking about the thing and getting to what the real truth is, not getting to a place where you're
having discussions and disagreements. You can be skeptical when you weren't allowed to be skeptical.
Yeah.
And
that was what drove me nuts. I'm like, how did something that is scientific become political? Because science bears
it was the political science.
If someone drops into my DMs and gives me shit for having you on.
They will.
Okay. Let me tell everyone something. If you drop in my DMs and say that, that's a you problem. If this triggers you, it's a you problem. You got to figure out why that triggers you. Because I'll have all different people on. I want to continue to learn from all different kinds of people, from all different kinds of walks of life. I'm not going to pick sides and only have certain people on. Do not drop in my DMs. Well, you can.
But listen,
but just know that's you projecting onto me.
But to throw another wrench into the pie, like we had Chelsea Clinton on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we'll talk to any, but guess what? We got shit for that too. You know what I'm saying? So like
you can't win.
You can't win.
You really can't. But that's why you don't need to play the game. But you definitely will get hate for having me on.
But the people that are mad about having you on are happy that we have someone like Chelsea on, and the people that are fans of Chelsea be mad. And that to me, I'm like, guys, like I just want to hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
Which is great to have those conversations. But cancel culture is a thing. To answer your question, why would somebody not date somebody because they're worried about the backlash? Because cancel culture, as it was invented in 2020, absolutely had an effect on people. And people started looking at their bottom line, which you understand and you might not see so much. But when people start thinking that, hey, I'm going to get canceled, and that was a real threat to people, that became a bigger part of the conversation, for sure.
Do you guys really think that people actually got canceled? Is there someone that actually still is canceled from that time? Because I can't think of anyone.
There are a lot of people that lost their jobs that never really came back. Chris Harrison from The Bachelor being one, right off the top of my head.
We just had him on the show.
That I can think of. But I mean, he was really maligned and demonized. There was a few people. Morgan Wallen got canceled for a time until, his albums were just too good and people couldn't turn away. There's a number of people that got canceled that they've been able to now kind of unearth themselves. But at that time, cancel culture was coming in hot for a lot of people. A lot of people on Bravo met their end, and now they're resurfacing. But in 2020, everybody was on the chopping block.
What's something that you wish that people knew about you that they don't know?
That I don't actually think about politics all the time, and I don't live my life just completely centered around politics. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions about people that do news media or political media or political influencing or whatever it is like that's the only thing that we care about, and that we don't have other interests and we're not just average people like everybody else.
And when you look at your whole career, like the future, do you have it mapped out where you always want to be on the news? Do you want to start your own thing? Do you have other aspirations other than politics? Like, what do you see as your future?
I want to keep doing what I'm doing because I really love the network that I'm at. So I want to stay there and I want to just continue to grow there. And that's been my goal for the last 7 years that I've been there, is to continue to grow and get more opportunities and do more things. Doing and growing Outkick, which Fox brought on about 3 to 4 years ago, growing the digital space. That's what I'm focused on doing. I love the digital space. I like to bring kind of young people into the political digital space and the cross section of all that. That's exciting to me.
How do you think about personal safety now? Because again, these are charged waters, right? Yeah. And people get very passionate. You being like, how do you think about just your personal safety, family's personal safety? Like, do you have to live differently now that you're more out there, more known, more political?
Now that I live in Tennessee. No, when I lived in LA, it was actually a concern. I would not go outside of the South Bay when I lived in LA.
Why?
Because it would be violent.
What do you mean?
I could not go to Santa Monica. I tried to go to Santa Monica one time. What's the place that everybody used to go? The Bungalow? Yeah, I tried to go to the Bungalow one time. Did not go well for me. Girls being mean, screaming at me, yelling. It didn't go well. I had numerous assignments here in West Hollywood for Hannity where I'd go like do man on the street things. People would be screaming at me. The Salt and Straw over there would like give people ice cream if they wouldn't talk to me. I mean, it was...
Maybe the Bungalow has changed, but I can't imagine being like some hipster at the Bungalow coming up to me and...
Oh, yeah. No, and it's usually women. I would be in... I
was thinking you were going to say like out on the streets, but the Bungalow, that was like kind of a contained environment.
Yeah, and then just even outside, just in Santa Monica. Like, I can't go to Santa Monica.
Wow.
I can't go to West Hollywood. Living in Hermosa Beach, I would go to like Tower 12. I had a girl push me up against the wall at Tower 12 and call me a name that starts with C. I mean, this was like a daily thing. I'd have people kick me. I'd have people follow me around the Vons. I mean, it was not good. I've had numerous experiences like that. I had people throw water on me and my family when I was in Minneapolis. There's been a lot.
How do you deal with it? Are you neutral or are you stoic? Like, what do you do when people do that?
It really depends on the environment and who I'm with. If I'm with my parents, I mean, that's just a no-go. Just don't mess with my parents. They didn't ask for this. They're small town people from South Dakota. Why are you throwing water on my mom? Like that, what does that make sense to do that and scream the F word at my family? That, to me, is a bridge too far. For me personally, I've learned not to react, so I don't react unless I actually have to react. I did a speech about a year and a half ago at the University of New Mexico, and the SWAT team had to be called in, and I had to be like taken out in an armored vehicle because the state police and SWAT team had to be called in. So in those situations, I have to be more mindful of my security. But for the most part, people just heckle and say mean things. Whatever, what are you gonna do?
What is so polarizing to people about you, do you think?
My politics. I'm a conservative who is unbridled and willing to say it like it is. And some people, they just do not like that. I mean, look around. We're in volatile times. Look at what's happening on our college campuses. We've got people that are pledging support to terrorists. I mean, it's not that hard to connect the dots of why people like me are being targeted or being driven out or